Hi, this is Eric Metcalf, and you're watching the Unhappy Hour.
Hey everybody, Brian Engelman. This is the Unhappy Hour. This is a program where we are going to discuss the Cleveland Browns 2018 draft. We're going to talk about what they've done in free agency, what they've done with trading picks. This roster has completely been revamped by John Dorsey. It's very interesting to watch. I think Sashi Brown has done a fantastic job by emptying the cupboards. Yeah, I think he made a few mistakes along the way, but I'm pretty darn impressed with the position the Browns have been left in. So that's why we're having our show today, the Unhappy Hour. We're going to bring in Brandon Odell. We're having a problem with our Facebook Live now, but if something weird wasn't happening with our recording technology, I wouldn't know what to do with myself if things actually function properly. But anyway, Brandon, we have you on the phone. That's functioning properly. Welcome back, sir. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. The bees are actually starting to buzz, the birds are singing, and life is good in Northwest Ohio.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, I think things are good in Berea, Ohio as well. I think the Cleveland Browns have done a wonderful job turning things around. It took 2 years to bottom out, and we wasted the entire career of Joe Thomas doing it. But, this is our draft preview show. Of course, we can get into Joe Thomas because, we have a new need of position over there at left offensive tackle. It had just been so weird that we've been able to mark that one and know what we were going to get for the past 11 years. So kind of start us off at the beginning with some of the moves that the Browns made to lead us up into this offseason by trading picks away and deferring gratification, if you could.
Okay, can you hear me okay right now?
Yes, I can hear you great.
Okay, all right. So basically, I guess first of all, as you said, with the retirement of Joe Thomas, let us salute him, give him I believe the apology due from about 20 different quarterbacks. I don't know if you've caught his new podcast, the Tomahawk podcast, but they've already had Mandel and Bruce Gradkowski on as guests. Both have it's a ceremonial thing that you need to first, before you can be on the show, apologize to Joe Thomas for wasting his time on the football field. So I think he has about 18 more quarterbacks to go. But either way, great career. Seems like a really great dude. Just a wonderful representative of the community and of the city. And wish him luck in whatever's next. Certainly seems like he has some big prospects going on. But making that segue, I don't know if there are really any prospects to replace Joe Thomas. You don't, as I think Hugh Jackson was saying in an interview the other day, you don't necessarily replace him a whole lot. You find a guy that can do a good job, and you hope that maybe eventually he can grow into being an all-pro. But nobody just picks a guy right off the street or right off of draft day, and he ends up being that good, because there might not ever be somebody that good ever again.
Yeah, he was one of a kind. I mean, he set a consecutive snaps mark. Remind us again what we had and what NFL record this guy just set this year, because this is pretty like Cal Ripken-like.
It was something like 10,870 or some sort of number like that, straight snaps. So it's not just games played. So think about if Cal Ripken, because there were probably some, eighth innings in Cal Ripken's career where the game was pretty much decided one way or the other, and maybe they bring in the utility guy to get him an at-bat or something like that. Joe Thomas, it wasn't a game-started streak. It was never having missed a snap. So there could be a time in the fourth quarter, so many times in the fourth quarter, where the Browns were just getting murdered, and it could have been very, very easy as a vet to say, you know what, I've done my part, I've earned my money today, and I'm going to go ahead and sit it out for the last 5 minutes. Never even came off the field once during that time. So that's something that probably just won't happen again.
Brandon, that's so incredible. I think, we recognize Joe Thomas for having been a warrior, for being able to go out there and just battle and grind and consistently succeed at what he's doing. But when you phrase it and articulate it the way that you just did, and you really expand on what we're really talking about, we're not just talking about he started all the games and then he would go sit down in the third quarter when we're being blown out by 32 points. This was every single snap. I don't even understand how that's a possibility with all of the bodies flying around, especially on the offensive line, where accidents happen nonstop. It's constant collisions. I don't understand what we witnessed. I think it's beyond spectacular. Damien is here. He's watching on Facebook Live. Hi, Damien. And go ahead and leave some comments below if you want. What's up, Seth? He says he thought this was Chris Feder. No, it's just Brian Engelman with the Unhappy Hour. Thanks for watching, dude. He's a new one. Hi, Seth. Not familiar with you yet, but we will be. Brandon, Damien is saying that Joe Thomas is a legend. Surprised that he wasn't offered a job with the Browns to coach the offensive line. Do you have any hunch what Joe Thomas is going to be up to, and if he might play any role in a future front office, either in Cleveland or elsewhere?
I would definitely say that based upon what I've gathered so far, although he definitely does enjoy working with other players, and supposedly just even in the last several days, he already has been working with on technique with Sean Coleman, who is his at least the man who will have the first crack at being his heir apparent at left tackle. So the last couple of days he's been doing some private sessions with him. But if this is someone who wants to get into broadcasting, he's had tryouts with some of the major networks. There have been whispers about him possibly earning the gig for Thursday Night Football as the color man. So that's certainly a possibility for him. And besides that, the sky's the limit. I mean, he is an effervescent individual. Just has charisma about him, and just seems like that funny guy that you want to have a beer with and you want to have a conversation with. And so that's going to take him. And if you match that with his Hall of Fame football credentials, there are going to be a lot of opportunities that are going to be made available for him. At the very least, he will certainly have a place within the Browns organization doing whatever he wants to do.
Well, he's a funny guy. That's making Johnny Manziel and people apologize before they can do the show. And actually, I did see that. I saw Johnny running out of the tunnel as the Browns starter with all the fireworks going off, and he posted it. I think it was on Instagram, and he said, I took this for granted. I'll never let that happen again. And he's talking about trying to come back. I don't want to take this off the rails with Johnny Manziel until he earns a little bit of something and turn this stuff around. But, some of that humor that Joe Thomas was displaying with Johnny Manziel, he's always been a funny guy. He's always been a personable guy, and I think you just gave us our word of the day, effervescent. Effervescent is our word of the day. So I guess, Brandon, let's kind of jump back to Joe Thomas's career. That was the past 11 years. Absolutely incredible. Now, just give us the quick recap of what past general managers and past Cleveland Browns front office organizations have done to put us in the position that we were to start this free agency and draft period.
Okay, so what you are saying is discuss accumulation picks and what we have right now.
Yes, and if you're on your cell phone, if you could hold it, some of your stuff is coming in and out. I think the quality's okay, but just want to let you know. Maybe it might be how you're holding it. But, yeah, just to kind of give us the update. We know we got rid of Sashi Brown. We're at John Dorsey now. He's at the reins. But I'm just trying to get to understand where we are today. Let's look back at the past couple years of how we tanked, how we got rid of draft picks, how we accumulated other things, other assets, dropped contracts. Because we have money, we have picks, and we have aggression that I haven't seen from a front office in a long time right now.
Okay, so basically, one thing that I kind of noted when you first went on the air is that you were very impressed with our ability to gather the talent that we currently have in terms, wrong word, the amount of picks that we currently have and where we're sitting, and that you really give your hats off to Sashi Brown for that. I agree with that to some extent, but then at the same time, too, there is a whole lot of pain and a whole lot of suffering that has gone into earning every bit of that record that we have had over the last two, and if you want to put it out to definitely a third year in these 4 wins that we have had in those 3 years combined. So...
Oh yeah, look! I've been at several of these games. I went to the perfect season winless parade. We have suffered, but I think to properly tank in the NFL, what I'm getting at here is, Brandon, is that you can't just go a year and then hit recycle. You really have to grind to the bottom and then skid for a couple of years like the Cavaliers did. You have to shed contracts. You have to, delay your gratification. You have to recognize where you're at and fully bottom out like anybody battling an addiction must have to. I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm just saying, look at this. Look at all the draft picks we have. Look at all the moves that we've made. Look at all the trades that we've made. Look at the position we're in. We're not done yet, and we seem aggressive with a guy with a proven track record coming in to try to take this over. I feel like the pass was good. Now we have to catch it and run the route perfectly. It looks like we're in the right direction for the first time in a while. Is what I'm saying.
It does. Hope springs eternal in Cleveland around draft time. But I will say that you talk about the accumulation of picks with 2 picks in the top 4 this year. And then you have 2 of the top 3 picks in the second round, plus the final pick in the second round. So that's what they say, 5 of the top 64 players or 65 players in the draft. That's a pretty big deal and definitely gives us a lot of options. I would certainly say that it seems to me that all signs are pointing toward quarterback at number 1. Taking Tyrod Taylor in free agency was a great way to bring the team a little bit closer toward more immediate success. But in terms of what we are talking about long term, I think that we are going to definitely be looking at some sort of quarterback number 1. Who that is, I really don't have a lot of opinion, because I just want to put it in these guys' hands and take the best one.
So you're basically saying that Tyrod Taylor puts the Browns in a better situation than if we had DeShone Kizer going for another year with another rookie coming in. You're saying that upgraded that position, although you don't think he's necessarily a long-term answer. You think that has anchored the type of... Well, let me rephrase that question, because I just kind of took it a different direction now. DeShone Kizer, there's 2 questions there. By moving on from DeShone Kizer and bringing Tyrod Taylor, do you think that's signaling the Browns are going to be looking to draft a quarterback that has a similar skill set of Tyrod Taylor? And do you think we moved on from DeShone Kizer too quickly? So it's double-sided there.
Well, if you're talking about the skill set of Tyrod Taylor, I wouldn't say that necessarily has to be the case. Because if you're talking about the skill set of Tyrod Taylor, probably the individual that most closely matches that, even size-wise, I guess Tyrod is a little bigger than he is, but it's probably Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
The good accuracy, good footwork, able to make plays on the run, probably a little bit more undersized. But just supposedly a great leader. Now, if you are trying to pick someone who has the opposite skill, well, let me rephrase that. Someone whose biggest skills are, the ceiling is far above where Tyrod Taylor's is. You're talking about Josh Allen. And that's an individual who, some people believe could be like the next John Elway, just has an absolute cannon for an arm, and just like an athletic wonder. But the problem there is that you're talking about a guy who played in a smaller college situation, played at Wyoming, and might not necessarily have quite as much of a floor as, say, what Baker Mayfield provides. And so in that case, you're probably talking about a great example of a guy that could sit for a year or two while Tyrod Taylor does his thing. And then by the time he's a second year or even third year player, in an ideal world, you have a guy who has been given some time to marinate and really come into his own.
Okay, so then if that's the situation, at quarterback, back to DeShone Kizer. Are you happy? You saw enough? It was just a failed experiment, new regime, no thanks, moving on. How much do you think Hugh Jackson played a role in that personnel decision with John Dorsey? Because, we heard Hugh Jackson was the quarterback's whisperer, so we gave him a third-round pick, we gave him a second-round pick. He wasn't whispering much of anything to him. So how much of that do you think reflects upon Hugh Jackson, and how much of that was just saying that DeShone Kizer's a busted pick and he's not going to amount to much?
Look, DeShone Kizer isn't a busted pick. I think it's probably the best situation for everybody. It was an absolutely horrible season for everybody last year, and DeShone Kizer is going to carry the scars, literally and figuratively, of that 0-16 mark for a long time, for the rest of his career. And the best way to heal that wound is to guarantee him time to heal that wound, which he is now guaranteed to have in Green Bay.
Right.
And also, I think that it just gives both he and the team a fresh start. If he were a quarterback, say Tyrod Taylor's your starter, and the Browns go, say, 2-3 over the first 5 weeks, and then gets injured. Then you have DeShone Kizer coming out as this backup who is still developing. He goes out and he throws 1 touchdown pass and 4 interceptions in his first game. The boos are going to be so loud for him that that would probably end his career right there. And he might never see the field again, just because the fans are going to be so unhappy with him.
Right.
He goes to Green Bay. He gets a chance to go in there, and he gets a fresh start with fresh players. People don't have the same memories of him that we do. And, he gets a chance to improve upon the things that he definitely struggled with. I mean, there were some great things about him. Mm-hmm. We probably should have won that game at Pittsburgh, the last game of the season. And, he certainly did everything he could to keep that play alive that Corey Coleman dropped. But at the same time, DeShone Kizer made his share of pretty bad turnovers. That the slap your forehead type of plays that you're just like, oh no,
right? Well, let me jump in here because Eric Sherman's watching. He said, "What's up, Eric?" By the way, so if you're watching on this camera, you're on YouTube. Click subscribe and sign up for the notifications on this channel. And if you're watching on this camera, you're on Facebook Live. So it's a private group on Facebook called the Unhappy Hour Sports Show, a support group. So you can invite all your friends quickly. Just go through your friends list and find all your sports fans and invite them in. Indians, Cavs, Browns, Buckeyes, Blue Jackets, and whatever else we feel like talking about. But Eric is watching on Facebook Live, Brandon, and he said, we owed it to Kizer to trade him. We had to move on. He never should have been starting last year. Do you agree with that? He should have never been starting last year?
He definitely did not come into the best situation. I think there were some teams that he probably could have started for and been more successful because of some other pieces that he may have had. He didn't have those pieces here, and it showed. So, but who does have those pieces is Tyrod Taylor. He has Jarvis Landry now, which obviously is a vast improvement to our wide receiver room. He has Carlos Hyde now, former Ohio State Buckeyes, very happy to be coming back to the state of Ohio. I didn't realize he was an Ohio guy. I guess he's from Cincinnati originally. I thought he was one of those Ohio State running backs that came up from Florida. There are a lot of those over the years. So we have Carlos Hyde, who I think is a similar back to Isaiah Crowell, but all things considered, probably a little bit of an improvement there, and I think hits the hole a little bit harder and doesn't dance as much as Isaiah, and that's was one of his criticisms. So you put Carlos Hyde out there. You put Josh Gordon, hopefully ready to be able to play a full season again, but you can never really count on him. So Jarvis Landry, Carlos Hyde, Josh Gordon, those are three guys right there that make a huge difference. That you talk about what DeShone Kizer did not have game one of the NFL season last year. Then you factor in the continued development of David Njoku. You factor in, hopefully, some sort of development for Corey Coleman. We're talking about a prove it or lose it year in terms of his NFL career. There are a lot of good things on the Browns offense right now that we have to look forward to. On top of the fact that we have all of these picks, who knows what else is going to be coming in? Saquon Barkley at number 4. He could certainly be there. Let's see what happens if he is. Maybe they draft him. You can never have too many good players on your football team, especially who are offensive playmakers.
I like what you just said there. You can never have too many good offensive playmakers on your team. You have Duke Johnson that could line up as a running back or a split back or a slot receiver. You have Saquon Barkley could do the exact same thing, and it will allow you to work in different sets with different techniques, with different strengths, for different routes, for different reasons at different times of the game. Why would you want to limit your playmakers? And if you're talking about playmakers in the draft, where do you stand with Saquon Barkley as far as being a guy that you should take with the number 1 pick? And if we draft quarterback at number 1, do you think Barkley will be gone by 4?
First of all, absolutely no. We do not take him with the first overall pick. We have to take a quarterback. I think that was evident by the release of DeShone Kizer. If we would have held on to DeShone Kizer, I could definitely have made the argument that he was the developmental quarterback that John Dorsey and his staff still believed in, that they felt that they had a top-shelf talent. Because remember, at one point, DeShone Kizer was being discussed as a number 1 overall pick. So it's not like he was somebody that was overvalued in the bottom of the second round. It's obvious they decided to go in a different direction with DeShone, and I think that right then and there tells you you're going to have the best quarterback. Don't let any other team dictate to you which quarterback you get. You choose your favorite one at number 1. And then the Jets moving up to number 3 certainly tells you that they're not giving up 3 extra second round picks for Saquon Barkley. They're moving up to number 3 because they have a crummy quarterback situation. So they want the guy of the future. You're talking about the New York Giants at number 2. That's one you could see them move out. You could see them taking Quentin Nelson. You could see them taking Saquon Barkley and really going for it for Eli Manning the last couple of years of his career. Or you could certainly see them saying, hey, we don't have the guy to be ready when Eli is hanging him up, which is going to be sooner rather than later. Let's get that guy at number 2 and hope that we never pick this high again. I mean,
hey, Eli Manning, he got benched last year. Obviously, they had their coaching carousel issues over there. But, yeah, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are approaching that age, that Tom Brady range, where you're going,
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees. Like, how much longer is this a great idea? The Carson Palmer thing. How long can I ride in this old vehicle before it finally gives up the ghost? It's like that old reliable car with like 250,000 miles, and you're like, I don't want to push it too hard, but I'm going to keep going until it's done. You got to at some point trade it in and upgrade.
Right, because otherwise you get stuck on the interstate somewhere 300 miles from the nearest tow truck.
Yeah, exactly. And then where are you at that point, other than where you are as a Cleveland Brown? Let's also do this. Tell me about the players that the Browns sent packing, the players and picks that left. Were you surprised by anybody getting out of here, like maybe Sheldon or anybody else? Because that was just as important of a part as the players we're bringing in. It's important for us to realize who did we send out. So, what did you make of those moves?
I would say that we probably all agree that we were most surprised by the DeShone Kizer thing, by far. So, besides that, I wasn't surprised by Shelton. I mean, he's been good, but not great.
Hold on, Brandon. Your phone is doing that thing again. Are you holding it?
Oh, okay. Well, I was going in and out of the garage. I said not surprised by Shelton. Good, but not great. So if they feel better about some of the other guys like Meter and Ogunjobi, they feel better about some of those guys, by all means.
Do you think that'll open the door for? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I was just trying to say, sorry to interrupt. I was just because we got a question on the Facebook group asking if that might open the door for Ndamukong Suh to come in.
No, absolutely not. That's not the kind of guy we want in our and we're not ready to make that kind of commitment to a guy like that with the kind of money that he wants. You know, that's a team that's like one guy away, one or two guys away, and that's not where we are right now.
Yeah, he's the wrong kind of guy. I feel the same way about Baker Mayfield. I don't like it. It's like something about him rubs me the wrong way. It's very immature. Just like Ndamukong Suh is very impulsive and immature. I don't think that's the right type of veteran leadership we need on the team by any stretch. So I'm glad you agree with me there. So do you think the Browns gave up too many picks to get Jarvis Landry, to get Tyrod Taylor? Do you think it was a fair amount? Did we pay too much?
Let's put it this way: if I told you that draft day, so in a month and a half or whatever it is, that for the first pick of the third round, you would get an immediate starting quarterback for the next couple of years at least.
Well, he's on a one-year contract, though. He's on a one-year contract.
So, would you do that? Yes or no?
What? I'm sorry. I was just trying to say, and we have a little bit of a phone delay. Sorry about that. I'm not trying to talk over you, but Tyrod Taylor is on a one-year contract, and he might be looking for an extension that the Bills weren't interested in. And so it's one of those Paul George things where you rent him for a year, and they might just go to the Lakers in the offseason anyway. So I don't know that we have him for a few years. I know that we have him for 1 year. Would you agree with that?
So if you knew that you had an immediate starting quarterback who had won 20 games in the NFL already, for next season, no matter what else happened the season after that. If you knew you weren't talking about the number one overall pick, you're talking about your third round pick. If you knew that it got you a full-time, 16-game, 1-year starter with playoff experience who was in his prime, regardless of what happened a year down the road, would you use your third round pick, not your first overall pick, your third round pick on that? I think I would every time.
I could see the argument you're making. I think the 1-year contract makes it a little bit more dicey for me. Whereas if he were on for like 2 or 3 years, I would understand it a little bit better. But I'm not going to argue the value of doing that. Just like how, it seems like Carlos Hyde, he's one of those running backs you feel like have been around forever. He's been in the fantasy drafts forever playing fantasy football. And you're like, wait a minute, he's 4 or 5 years in, like he's entering his prime. He's a proven professional. He's consistent. He's got some talent. He's had some injury issues, but like Zydrunas Ilgauskas, sometimes you have injury issues and you overcome it. And when you're in your prime, you can rock and roll. I feel like we're getting players at the right age. I feel like we're getting them at the right hunger level. Like Carlos is hungry enough, trying to get out of that crappy Niners organization. I think Tyrod Taylor has been undervalued, underappreciated, and some of that's he's brought on himself, but some of it, a change of scenery, he might be able to make some damage, cause some waves and make some damage this year. No, I like what we're doing. And then Jarvis Landry, what was the recap of what we gave up to get him?
And for him, I mean, shoot, we gave up like a fifth and a seventh rounder or something like that. It wasn't much at all. It was mainly a salary dump by the Dolphins with him.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So then we're looking at a situation. Do you feel like we're finally under good leadership from John Dorsey? Kind of sum up your thoughts of John Dorsey, and I think we only have you for a couple more minutes, so that might be a good place to wrap it up, unless you had a few more things you wanted to get into.
As far as Dorsey goes, I mean, I hope that everything seems to be the leadership seems to be steady and confident and direct and unwavering. He doesn't seem to be tottering back and forth. It seems like he has a specific plan in place, and he is executing it. So from that standpoint, I have definite respect with what he's doing so far. But I said the same thing 2 months into Sashi Brown's regime, and we won one game in 2 years. So ultimately, you have to do it on the football field. You got to pick the right guy at number one. That's just the way it goes. If you don't pick the right quarterback for yourself, you're just setting your franchise back another 3 to 5 years at least. And you hope that Tyrod Taylor comes in and can be healthy and consistent. Healthy and consistent right now. Last year we had healthy and inconsistent, and then in the years before that we just had injured and inconsistent. So we had one half of the formula last year, but inconsistent rookie, you saw what that brought us, not much. So let's have a consistent veteran, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how far it can take us. I certainly think that opposing defenses have a lot more to think about with the 2018 Cleveland Browns than they did with the 2017 version of Bryce Treggs and Sammy Coates and whoever else they picked up off of the unrestricted free agent scrap heap.
Seth DeValve and of course. No, not that I don't like DeValve. I know. I'm just saying. As far when you think of dynamic playmakers, he might not crack your top 10. Okay, so
right.
So just another minute or two here, if you can. Any other free agent moves that have been made regarding quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins or Case Keenum, or would you want to go through your top 5 picks in the draft and just do a mock? Who do you think is best, the best need, the best fit for the team? I'm not sure what thought you've put into either of those.
Okay, well, why don't we just talk about which quarterback? You have to make a decision right now. You're on the clock as John Dorsey. Who do you take number one? And then I'll do the same. And then we'll see what we think will be there with number 4.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you're on the clock right now. John Dorsey, with the first overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select. Finish this sentence now.
Wait, hold on. Did we turn this into me interviewing you to you interviewing me? When did this happen?
We're both giving our opinion here.
All right. I don't know that I've decided yet. So I'll just make this up?
He might not have decided yet either, but he has to go out there and make a selection. With the first overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select.
Okay. All right, start it off.
You can change your mind later, but we're talking right now. If you're making the decision, I'm going to give you one more time here. You're really
stalling
whipping out on me.
I'm stalling.
The first overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select.
We're going to go ahead and take in what might be deemed a bit of a surprise. We're going to take Josh Allen.
Okay, all right.
That's who we deemed as the guy.
Saying that you have Tyrod for a year or two, you could always franchise him next year and pay him that more money, and you allow Josh Allen to age like fine wine a little bit. So, okay, for me, first overall pick, I like that. I really think that I'm going to surprise some people and say that you know what, that they weren't at his pro day. I'm going to go and say Sam Darnold. I think that they'll end up picking Sam Darnold. Sturdy frame, bigger guy, seems like a good leader, has all the tools to work with. I was watching some of his highlights. Being out there on the West Coast, I'm sure you've seen and heard a lot more about him even than I have. So Sam Darnold, number 1. will take out of USC. So now we imagine. I could see. Let's say the Giants take Saquon Barkley, just for argument's sake. So number 2, Giants rush in there. They want a playmaker who's going to give Eli Manning 2 to 3 years of prime playing before he hangs up the cleats. So Saquon Barkley, number 2. The third overall pick.
Wait, hold on. I got to draft number 2 because at number 2, I'm going to go ahead and say, look, we benched him last year. We're moving on from Eli Manning. Like, he's obviously got the keys, but we're going to give this kid a little bit more time to put it together. I'm going to go ahead and take Baker Mayfield, another surprising pick, but they think with staying behind Eli for a year or two is going to help him mature in a way where he can become a top-notch professional. Okay.
I could see them making that pick. I could see them making Josh Rosen. I think Josh Rosen is a little more similar to Eli. I would like them I could see them picking him as a little bit of a surprise. So number 3, we say that with the New York Jets. So I'll go along. We'll say that I'll go with you just for argument's sake, just to keep it consistent. That we both agree that the Giants have taken Baker Mayfield with the number 2 pick. So that means that the New York Jets, for me, are going to take Josh Allen because they have Teddy Bridgewater now. They have Josh McCown for another year. They feel like they have some guys that can play ahead of Josh Allen for a year or two while he gets a chance to develop a little bit with the right guys showing him how to develop.
Well, and this one was a number 2, number 3 with me because I was going to go Josh Rosen to the Giants, but I'm going to send Josh Rosen right here at number 3. He can go play in New York with the Jets.
Okay. All right. So in both of our number 4s, we're saying that Saquon Barkley is available at this point.
We're saying he's available, but I'm also telling you, having these quarterbacks come off the board, that I think Buffalo really wants to come up and get whoever's left. I really think they're going to trade with the Browns here. And I think the Browns are going to take it and a number 1 next year. They're going to give up, 12 and 22, and we're going to get a number 1 next year because they really, really want this to happen, and we've pretty much had the groundwork laid since the Buffalo Bills trade for Tyrod Taylor. That's what my gut's telling me happens here.
Okay, well, but we can't predict trades. So with the 4th overall pick, I will say that in this scenario, with Saquon Barkley falling to us, and really trying to reinvent this offense, I think that the Browns, if Saquon Barkley is there, I think they take him.
I'm going to have to agree with you there. It would be nice to grab a fantastic, the number 1 wide receiver available in the entire draft. That would be great because sometimes it's Corey Coleman and sometimes it's Megatron. You need the Jerry Rice. You need the guy that can become consistent, reliable. I don't know if we're stretching at that position. I'd really like that position addressed. But we can't predict trades. I would say, the Browns are obviously going to take Saquon Barkley there. Some people want to see Mayfield and Barkley so they can have Sake and Bake, which would be fun for advertising purposes. But, having Barkley in the dog pound, that's got to work out better than Mingo, right?
No, what do you mean?
What's that?
Okay. Sorry, my daughter was asking me for a little help with something here. They're doing a tie-dye project, so looks like things are progressing to a point where I need to help out with.
All right, do your thing. Denver Broncos at number 5. Give me your top. Give me Denver Broncos, and we'll get out of here.
If there is any type of quarterback left, I say they take him. Otherwise, I could see, or if the guy they like is there, I could see them taking the quarterback. I could see them being a trade partner with Buffalo Bills as well. But just for argument's sake, we'll say they take Quentin Nelson, offensive lineman, big hog on the line for John Elway.
All right, yeah, I could see top available quarterback, but with that staunch defense and kind of locking in that quarterback position a different way, I could see him going and getting Fitzpatrick in the secondary, or Chubb. I guess, yeah, we had people asking about thoughts on Sonny Michael or Nick Chubb. Obviously great draft prospects. So, maybe we could go do another one of these. This is just version 1.0, Brandon. I appreciate your time today. Send my love to your family. get back to the rest of your wonderful weather in sunny Northwest Ohio. And I don't know when you'll be available next, but I mean, there's a lot more we could get into with this stuff, and I could talk draft for days. It's kind of like the Browns fans' Super Bowl time.
We always can. So we'll get something figured out maybe as we get right up to it. So we have a little time between now and then.
Coolio. Well, then you have a great day. Send my love to your closest, and we'll talk again soon, pal.
All right. Same your way, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Go Browns.